Hello everyone. Today I will bring you the touching love story between single mother Lytudiep and CEO Hùng. This is not only a story about love, but also about sacrifice, resilience, and the struggles in life. Lytudiep, a single mother, has faced numerous hardships in her life. Since the birth of her daughter, all the burdens and responsibilities have rested on her shoulders. During those difficult times, she worked tirelessly to raise her children, but her heart always longed for true love, a place to lean on, and a peaceful home. Then, Hùng appeared. He is not only a successful CEO, but also a man with a warm heart and sincere love. While Lytudiep always had to fight through life's challenges, Hùng was always there by her side, sharing the burden and offering her unconditional love. Their love story was not just a coincidence, but a journey of finding each other amidst pain and hardship. They taught each other how to love, how to trust, and how to build a better future. Their love is not just the love between two people, but also a love for life, for the core values of family and sharing. Each step they take is a story full of emotions, blending joy and sorrow, moments of happiness and endless challenges. Can their love overcome all the difficulties to achieve complete happiness? Let's follow their journey and share the emotions along the way with Lytudiep and CEO Hùng. I invite everyone to watch and feel this heartfelt love story. Lytudiep is a poor girl, living a life full of tragedy and challenges from a very young age. She was sold into marriage under circumstances no one could ever imagine, a life with no choices, just surviving day by day. She and her husband had a daughter, the only joy in that dark life. However, Lytudiep's happiness didn't last long. Her husband, a man obsessed with gambling, drinking, and indulgence, gradually became a nightmare in Lytudiep's life. He not only abused her physically, but also emotionally, making her feel like an abandoned object. When Lytudiep gave birth to a daughter, her husband became even angrier. He scolded, cursed, and even beat her simply because she didn't give him a son. One day, he decided to throw Lytudiep out of the house. In a state of confusion and pain, Lytudiep couldn't imagine that the agony had only just begun. Upon leaving, she discovered she was pregnant with another child. She rushed back to tell her husband, hoping for a miracle, but it was all in vain. Her husband remained unchanged, even deciding to kick her out again, simply because his mistress was pregnant with a son. Lytudiep, filled with anger and sorrow, had no choice but to leave. She carried her unborn child and left the house with nowhere to go. With her young daughter and the child in her womb, she lived through days of hardship. They had little to eat, no stable shelter, and had to rely on the compassion of others. On long nights, Lytudiep could only hold her daughter close, screaming in despair, yet still unable to find an escape. Lytudiep's life was a series of dark days without end. But within her pain, she learned how to stand up, how to live with resilience, even though everything around her felt like an invisible wall blocking her progress. She had few choices, but in her heart, the love for her daughter and unborn child was the strongest motivation to keep going. Fortunately, after the difficult months, Lytudiep met a man with a generous heart and full of love, CEO Hùng. He didn't just look at Lytudiep's difficult circumstances, but also saw the resilience and admirable qualities in her. Despite Lytudiep being a poor woman who had endured so much suffering in her life, Hùng never showed disdain, never looked down on her. On the contrary, he grew to cherish her even more. He understood that love isn't about material wealth or status, but about sincerity and sharing. Hùng gave Lytudiep a profound, non-judgmental, and unconditional love. As they spent time together, he learned more about the challenges she had faced. He was always there for Lytudiep, helping her overcome difficulties, caring for her and her daughter. Although Lytudiep initially felt self-conscious and unworthy of someone like Hùng, believing she didn't deserve his love, he never let go. He was patient, gentle, and their love blossomed naturally, tenderly, yet vibrantly. She never imagined that love could come unexpectedly and beautifully like this. Even though Lytudiep had 2 children, Hùng didn't see this as a barrier. He loved her children as if they were his own. Especially Tieu, Tieu eldest daughter. He loved her, cared for her, and treated her as his own daughter, without any distinction between biological ties. Hung understood that love is not just between two people, but also the bond between generations, a kindness and sharing between hearts. Even when Tieu found out she was pregnant, once again, Hung didn't show any distance or hesitation. He still loved her, accepted the situation, and cared for both her and the unborn child. He helped her take care of her health, building a stable future for their small family. Their love was not just a romantic love, but the love of a true family, where all difficulties and challenges could be overcome with love and care from a sincere heart. With each passing day, the bond between Tieu and Hung grew deeper. Together, they built a new home, where love, understanding, and sacrifice formed the foundation. Despite Tieu's painful and unfortunate past, it was this love that helped her find faith in life again and opened a new chapter full of hope and happiness. The three of them now have a bright future ahead, surrounded by the love of Hung, a man who is not only a life partner, but also a father in the family. With his love and concern for Tieu and her children, CEO Hung didn't just stop at providing emotional support. He wanted to create a real home for them, a place where they could live happily, safely, and independently. Understanding that Tieu's life still had many challenges, he decided to build a small farm for her, where she and her children could live and work, without worrying about shelter and with the opportunity to develop their lives. He chose a spacious, airy plot of land close to nature, an ideal place where Tieu could grow vegetables, tend to her garden, and create a life close to the earth. Hung didn't just build a simple but cozy house. He also designed a spacious area for Tieu to plant trees, raise chickens, and take care of vibrant green vegetables, things she had always dreamed of but never had the opportunity to achieve. Hung knew that Tieu loved simplicity, being close to nature, and desired to create a self-sufficient lifestyle. So, he hired skilled workers to build the house and garden. The process went quickly because Hung wanted everything to be completed soon, so Tieu wouldn't have to worry about anything. He also hired additional help to assist Tieu with housework and manage the garden, ensuring that the work was always on schedule. Throughout the construction process, Tieu not only supervised but also participated with Hung in the preparations. They worked together, hand in hand, creating a warm and loving living space. Each day, Tieu felt more and more the genuine affection Hung had for her and her family. She no longer felt lonely or helpless, because now she had a man who loved her and was willing to do everything to ensure that she and her children could have a better life. It wasn't just about building a house. Hung also took the initiative to help Tieu plan for the garden, selecting easy-to-grow, health-beneficial vegetables. Together, they watered the plants, cared for the garden, and shared joyful moments. For Tieu, these were happy moments she had never dared to dream of, living in a peaceful and happy space where love and care were always present. Thanks to Hung's loving actions and care, Tieu no longer felt like the abandoned woman. She became an important part of his life. That small farm was not just a place for them to live, but a symbol of love, sacrifice, and the beginning of a new, hopeful chapter for their little family. An unfortunate event occurred in Tieu's already challenging life. When she was only 7 months pregnant, one ordinary morning, she suddenly felt a severe pain in her abdomen. Although very worried, Tieu didn't initially think she would go into premature labor. However, as the situation worsened, Hung didn't hesitate for a second and immediately took her to the hospital for emergency care. Hung was always by Tieu's side, never leaving her for a moment. In her most painful moment, he was the only man she could lean on. Hung cared for her like a true husband, with every tender gesture and encouraging word, not only providing a pillar of support for Tieu, but also helping to ease her fears. Tieu's eldest daughter, was also by her side, but being young, she was equally anxious. Hung took care of Tieu, reassured her, and helped her feel at ease, so she wouldn't worry too much. He ensured that, throughout Tiusie's delivery, both mother and daughter felt loved and cared for. When the baby was born, despite the anticipation, because she was premature at 7 months, the baby couldn't come home right away. She had to stay in an incubator, and Tiusie could only look at her tiny newborn from behind the glass, her heart filled with sorrow and worry. But Hung, despite his own deep pain, was always by her side, reassuring her that everything would be all right and that they would overcome this challenge together. Since Tiusie was still weak, Hung didn't want her to stay in the hospital alone, fearing she would feel lonely and exhausted. Hung decided to bring Tiusie to his home so she could rest and receive proper care. He dedicated all his time to taking care of her, cooking for her, helping her relax, and recovering after the difficult birth. He treated her like a wife, like a partner, never allowing her to feel a lack of love or care. As time passed, the bond between Tiusie and Hung grew stronger. Hung's concern and tender care made Tiusie feel more loved and cherished than ever before. She no longer saw herself as a pitiful woman abandoned by life. Now, she had a man by her side, someone who not only loved her but also loved her children as if they were his own. Though Tiusie still had concerns about her premature baby, the love and care from Hung gave her the strength and faith she needed. Together, they waited, together they hoped, and together they cared for their little one in the incubator. Their love was not just between two people, but also a love for family, for their children, and for the bright future ahead. Today, Hung decided to visit his close friend, CEO James. James was not only a longtime friend, but also an important business partner in their woodworking factory. Hung had heard that James had recently been facing some bad news and decided to visit to share his sorrow. When Hung arrived, James couldn't hide his sorrowful expression. He shared with Hung that the company was facing difficulties, as someone from within, named John, had caused a major scandal. Although John had been arrested, the damage to the company was still significant and had a serious impact on their development plans. James, a person always dedicated to his work, felt heartbroken seeing his brainchild suffer due to this betrayal. While talking about the company's situation, James also shared about his personal life. He talked about Tiusie, the woman he loved and cared for. James expressed the pain he felt as Tiusie was going through tough times. She had just given birth to a premature baby, and the baby had to be kept in an incubator to survive. However, the most painful thing for James was the feeling of helplessness, knowing he couldn't protect Tiusie and their child. Although he loved her dearly, he couldn't be with her right now to help, due to the company crisis he was facing. James felt very sad, not only because the company had suffered, but also because he couldn't shield the woman he loved. He sighed and shared his frustration with Hung, feeling as though everything was going wrong. Hung listened silently, fully understanding the emotions his friend was going through. Although Hung had his own problems in life, he recognized how difficult what James was experiencing really was. As his friend shared his sorrow, Hung could do nothing but offer words of encouragement and comfort to James. He knew that no matter how difficult life became, love and resilience would help them overcome all challenges. Hung felt that despite the struggles James was facing in both his work and personal life, he was still a strong and trustworthy friend. However, when Tiusie's ex-husband, after a period of separation, learned the truth that his mistress was not carrying his child and had deceived him about his assets, he became furious and heartbroken. Although he had lost most of his money and had nothing left, what troubled him the most was learning that Tiusie had just given birth to a son. This revelation overwhelmed him with a sense of loss and regret. Not long after, the ex-husband decided to return. He wanted to find Tiusie, not only to make amends for his past mistakes, but also to reconcile and revive their broken relationship. He believed he could restore everything, reunite with Tiusie, and raise the son she had just given birth to. His reason for returning wasn't only out of old feelings, but also because of the sense of loss, realizing he had lost the family and child he could have cared for and protected. Upon hearing of her ex-husband's return, Tiusie felt confused and unsettled. She never expected this. During the difficult months, she had grown accustomed to a solitary life, and now the appearance of her ex-husband made her uncertain and unsure of what to do. Whether he regretted his actions or not, she no longer loved him. She had changed. She had found another man in her life, Hùng, who had always been there for her, caring for her and her family with all his heart. Lytutien understood that Hung's love was sincere and real, while her ex-husband had returned out of feelings of failure and regret. However, his return still made Lytutien ponder, as she had to face difficult decisions about both her past and future. She knew that she needed to stay strong, not let the pressures of the past affect her current happiness. The return of her ex-husband was just another challenge Lytutien had to overcome to protect the new family she had built with Hùng. She realized that love isn't just about words or regret, but about sincere actions and sacrifices in life. Will Lytutien choose to return to her ex-husband, the man who once abandoned her during her hardships? Or will she continue to walk alongside Hùng, the man who has always been there for her, loving and caring for her and her children unconditionally? Life is always filled with tough choices, and Lytutien must find the best path for herself and her family. She not only has to face the past, but also build a new future, a true home. Every decision, every step she takes is filled with hope for a brighter future. Stay tuned for the next chapter, as the challenges are still ahead and the relationships will continue to unfold in unexpected ways. Thank you for following along, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming videos. Leave a comment and share your thoughts on Lytutien's actions in this situation. See you in the next video.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì mình đưa tới mọi người câu chuyện tình yêu của mẹ đơn thân Ly Tiểu Ca và CEO Hùng. Như mọi người cũng đã biết, Tiểu Ca thì là một cô gái khá là trẻ. Hiện tại thì cô đã có 2 đứa con nhỏ thì hiện tại là mới sinh non và còn đang ở trong bệnh viện đó mọi người. Còn đứa con lớn là Tiểu Han thì đang ở chung với Tiểu Ca. Và nhờ sự giúp đỡ của CEO Hùng. Nhưng mà hiện tại thì Tiểu Ca đang gặp một chút khó khăn. Đó là khi người chồng cũ của cô đang có ý định quay về và muốn giành con trai lại sau khi biết Tiểu Ca sinh con trai và muốn kết nối lại tình xưa với cô. Thì liệu Tiểu Ca sẽ có lựa chọn như thế nào giữa Hùng và người chồng cũ, và liệu Hùng có thể giữ được tình yêu của mình không? Thì mời mọi người theo dõi và ở những tập tiếp theo nha.